Hello, welcome to 15 Minutes in the Forest. My name is Adam Downing. I'm with Virginia Cooperative Extension, serving as the Northwest District Extension Forester. Coming to you today with some friends I'm going to introduce here in a minute. The topic today is water quality on roads, forest roads, and driveways, both of which can be challenges to not have sediment moving, dirt, into waterways. That's the main pollutant that we're concerned about, and what ends up in the Chesapeake Bay or whatever watershed that you're in, and then causes other problems downstream. So we'll look at forest roads, we'll look at driveways, but we're starting here on a active timber job in Madison County on property owned by Bill Price. And this timber was bought by Blue Ridge Lumber, Mark Ducey, who is the timber buyer and very active on the job with taking care of the roads and everything. So we'll be taking a look at some of those features. And the property was sold with the assistance of Paul Haney, a consulting forester, environmental timber management. On this side of me, I've got two more professionals that work in the public service sector. Rodney Newland with the Department of Forestry is a water quality engineer. And over here we have Richard Jacobs with Soil and Water Conservation District based in Culpeper, serving Madison and the surrounding areas as well. Let's take a look at some features.
So we're at the Hall Road stream crossing on the job that we were talking about earlier today. And this is a temporary bridge crossing. The operator chose to use just a wooden portable temporary bridge for this purpose. It'll be more than likely taken out when the harvest is complete. Depending on the landowner's objectives, he may choose to put in a different type of crossing, maybe a bridge, maybe a culvert. But right now it's just a temporary bridge made out of wood, and it's serving the purpose really well for a truck access road. If you look up the hill and you see Jack and Richard up the hill there, they're standing on, it's kind of in between a broad-based dip and a rolling dip, and we'll talk about those here in more detail. Where they're standing is a good location for the first one. They can look up to the hill back there where that pink flagging is and the orange bar. But where their eyes meet the grade, looking horizontally into the slope, that's going to be the location for the next one, and there's actually one there. A broad-based dip is normally used on a road that's 8% grade or less. A rolling dip can go up more like a 15% grade road. And this is like in between, but it's usually a reverse grade in the road about 20 feet at the most, and it's a reverse grade of about 3%, and it's outslope 2 to 3%, and you can kind of see that outslope as you see the difference between the height of Jack and Richard up there. So let's go ahead and walk up the hill and we'll look at a little bit more detail of this broad-based dip. So we're standing on the rolling dip that we were looking at when we were at the stream crossing. And again, if you want to look up the hill with me, this gives a really good idea of the spacing of the rolling dips. You can see the stake that's in the ground with the pink flagging. Where my eyesight is hitting that slope, looking horizontally, it's a perfect location for another structure. And you just, again, repeat that process till you get to the top of the grade. And that'll give you plenty of diversions to slow the water down. This is a rolling dip, and typically they're on roads that are 12 to 15% in grade. And it's really just a reverse grade in the slope. Say this road's, we'll call it 10% right now. So right in here for about 10 or 15 feet, the operators reverse the grade about 3 or 8%. So if he went from 10% to 7% right here, and then he comes back down and he's going to go back down to that 10% grade. So it gets enough to capture the water, get it off the road. And there's some rock in this. Sometimes this is a critical spot where you may need some more heavier rock because it gets a lot of use. It takes a lot of pressure from the rain. So you may need some rock to maintain it so it doesn't rut out. And on the outlets are very critical. We've received a lot of rain in the past several weeks here. The storm of the week, I think, had 8 inches almost at one time, definitely 5 inches. So there's been a lot of rain, but you can see it's getting it off the road. If we didn't have this structure here, it would have all been down towards that stream crossing. So it's working, it's getting it off there. The straw bales caught some, but you can see it's starting to go around it now. And this is just purely a maintenance issue. So maybe some more straw bales down there, but it's taking it off the road, away from the stream, and the sediment's not reaching the stream at all. So it's working as it should be. So now we're standing in a broad-based dip on the same road, just a little bit up the hill from the rolling dip that we looked at earlier. And right away you'll notice these are a lot more subtle than a rolling dip. This is a reverse grade in the road of about 20 feet. And it's only maybe a 3% reverse grade. So say you're running 10% up here, goes back to 7% here, and it's going to go back to 10% there. So it's just enough to slow that water down and get it off the road. And again, this is going to have a slope of about 2 or 3% just to get it off there so it doesn't come back onto the road surface. And this is an excellent diversion structure for access. It's a lot easier to get over with a vehicle than a rolling dip. It's not as extreme as those are. But if your grade allows it, again, this can go probably maybe a 10% grade road. You get above that, you're probably going to have to jump up to a rolling dip. But this is excellent for a road if your grade allows it. So now we're standing at a closed out stream crossing on this harvest. This bridge crossing that was used is very similar to the crossing that we saw earlier on the haul road. They used it for skidding, and when they're done, they pulled out the bridge and they installed water bars on the approaches on both sides, and they put down seed and straw mulch. And the water bars have done a very good job. They're catching any runoff that comes down the hill, getting it away from the stream. The stream is clear. You may not be able to see that from back there. The stream's running clear. And water bars are typically used on roads that aren't going to be used for much traffic, maybe an ATV. If we look up the hill, back where Jack and Richard are, they're standing on top of and in a water bar. And a water bar is just simply a berm that's been put in. It's about 12 to 18 inches deep, and it runs about a 30 to 45 degree angle to the road. And they're excellent for closing out a forced access road. In this situation here, it's not going to be used very often, maybe for hunting, for ATV use, because it's a much more prominent bump in the road from a rolling dip or a broad-based dip. But it goes across the entire width of the road, and that's critical. Is if it's not tied in all the way across from the cut slope over to the fill slope, it has a chance of coming back onto the road and causing more erosion.
Hello, I'm Richard Jacobs. I'm with the Culpeper Soil and Water Conservation District, and we work with farmers and landowners to help manage their runoff from their land. One of the primary concerns that we get a lot are driveways, gravel, dirt driveways. We're here in Madison County on the farm of Mr. Steve Hill. The important thing to remember about private roads is that we need to get the water off the road, and it's good to utilize ditches on the side. Might not necessarily need ditches on both sides, but at least on the uphill side, you want a ditch to help collect the water that sheds off your road. The ditch will also help collect any of the runoff coming from the adjacent land. In this case, there's a field up here. And then we want to, instead of directing that ditch straight down to the stream channel, we want to disconnect and dissipate that energy and disperse it out into the landscape. We have a cross culvert here that's buried under the road to take the water from the ditch and shed it back out into the field. If for whatever reason you can't cut in a ditch to collect the water from the roadbed, you're going to have water that comes down the road, and there are a couple other options to consider. You can put in something like down at the logging road, like a rolling dip, but those can be pretty obtrusive for a permanent road like this. There are a couple other diversion structures that could be manufactured and installed. One of them is this open top culvert here. It just consists of 2x6 pressure treated wood. Usually you put some spacers in the middle here to keep it from bending, but this will be buried into the roadbed at grade, and it acts as a channel for the water to be collected in, and then you angle it down slope at about 30-degree angle, and that will help shed the water off the roadbed. Another option is this rubber belt diverter. So it's just an old conveyor belt nailed between two pieces of wood, and then this too is buried on grade. But the benefit with this is that it's a little bit lower maintenance because you don't have to clean it out, and you can drive over it. You can also look and see that the road itself followed the contours, the natural contours of the land. They didn't, when you lay out your road, you don't want to just go straight to your house or to your barn. You want to follow the natural contours, because that's going to slow down the runoff coming down this ditch. You know, the ditch isn't straight, it's curved, so that curve helps with slowing the water down. So your ditches and any sort of cut and fill slopes on both sides of the road should be well vegetated. You want to have uniform mature grass that can inhibit erosion. In addition to shortening the length of the ditch and diverting it off using the cross culverts here or ditch turnouts. You know, you want to have good grass to stop the erosion from starting. To help the vegetation get established, you may need some stabilization matting or blankets. Those are the straw nettings that you might be able to find at your local hardware store. You also may need rock check dams or some sort of barrier in the ditch to help slow the water down. And both the matting and the check dams will help keep the seeds in place to allow them time to germinate and get established. So another key important thing for a permanent driveway or road is having good cover. So your roadbed itself is going to have a surface layer of stone on it. You want to have the right type of stone. So in this particular road, they've used a lot of what's called 57 stone, which is going to be 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch in size. It works for some roads. I would recommend that for steeper roads or for roads with a lot of traffic, you actually want finer stones. You want what's called 21A stone, and it just has a right mixture of some of these larger stones, smaller stones, and fines, dust. Now when you use 21As, you need to roll compact it into place when you first construct the driveway. So here we have a stream crossing utilizing dual culverts. Those are pipes that water flows through. There's no ditch coming straight to this point. That was because of the good use of the cross culverts further uphill from this site. What I want to talk about here with the culvert crossing is the importance of having it countersunk into the stream bed. That helps with fish migration, and it also helps a little bit with keeping the pipe in place. And then with having two culverts, it's a really good idea to have what's called a head wall connecting the two pipes, because you don't want seepage to occur between the pipes. So everything behind this head wall and on top of the pipe is fill material, so you want to protect that. The head wall also provides a secondary benefit of scour protection, particularly on the uphill side, because you'll have water backing up on the upstream side. And on the downstream side, you want to make sure that you get some rocks, some riprap, large rocks to help dissipate the energy coming out of these two pipes. So if you're installing a new stream crossing, make sure that you get it properly sized for the flow that the stream is expected to have. And the last thing would be to locate your stream crossing in a riffle area or a shallow section of the stream, not a pool, an area that's deeper. And that's going to save on fill material and usually have a better foundation for the pipes.
Thank you for joining us on this segment of 15 Minutes in the Forest. I hope that you've learned something about how water works when it hits a hard surface like a road or a driveway. And one more water control feature, this riparian buffer over my shoulder. That's always really good to also put in place if you have a pond or a stream. And there's a whole nother segment on that topic in another 15 Minutes in the Forest video that I'll link to. I want to thank the landowners who have opened up their properties to us, the resource professionals who have joined us to share their expertise with us. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to any natural resource professional in Virginia.